Good morning, and welcome to day 2 at the NAVAIR booth at Sierra Space. We have a wonderful lineup of speakers today, including a panel later today with NAVAIR leadership. But our first session is NAVAIR's NavalX Tech Bridge efforts. And we have 2 speakers for you today. Diana Teal is the Program Manager for Industry Outreach at the Naval Air Warfare Training Systems Division in Orlando, Florida. And Rick Tarr is NAVAIR's Office of Research and Technology Applications Lead and the Southern Maryland Tech Bridge Director. Together, they will discuss the NavalX Tech Bridge efforts and successes from their perspectives on collaboration between tech bridges. We'll welcome Diana and Rick to the stage. And if you would, please hold your questions to the end. We'll have an opportunity to go around the room at the conclusion of their talk today. All right, thank you. Welcome to the stage.
Thanks, Michael. Hi, if y'all didn't figure it out, I'm Diana Teal.
And I'm Rick.
Welcome. And just before we get started, we wanted to see who's in the audience with us. So one thing is, are you familiar with tech bridges? Raise your hands if you are.
Awesome.
All right. Wonderful. The word's getting out. And then are you with a small business?
Wow. Great.
Very cool. Rick, what other questions?
How many of you are located in the District of Columbia, the DMV area, and how many are from out of town? So who's located here in the DC area? Okay. And then from the West Coast? Got it. Central. And then the East Coast, not in the DMV. Okay. Cool. So a nice mix. That's
Nice.
great.
Yes, and welcome. All right. You need to get closer. Thank you. And slides. All right. So we're going to talk about, there's this thing called NavalX and Tech Bridges. Rick is Southern Maryland Tech Bridge Director, and I'm the Tech Bridge Director for Central Florida. Did I get that right?
You did.
All right. Next slide, please. Okay. So the why we have Tech Bridges, why NavalX. So as I'm sure most of y'all are aware, if not all of you are aware, that there's a difference now with technology and innovation. It used to be DoD was the lead with where the innovation was happening. At NOT-TSD, we have the patent for the overhead projector. I don't know if everybody here is old enough to remember that, but I am. So we have that patent. That's where the innovation used to happen. Now it's happening in industry. And we know we need to do things differently to get ahead of that power curve that's right here in front of us. We also know that it's hard to do business with the DoD, so we have to do things differently. Okay, next slide. So we both have these ecosystems that we wanted to talk a little bit about because we don't do this alone, right? There's a partnership. So I'll talk a little bit about the Central Florida ecosystem and then Rick about the Southern Maryland. So in Central Florida, we do training systems, modeling simulation, training, and human performance. And we have this thing that we call Team Orlando. And what that is we have all 4 services, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, all co-located in Orlando, all doing modeling, simulation, and human performance and training. So together we have what we call Team Orlando, and there's about 12 other federal government agencies that are now a part of this, along with our partnership with the local industry and governments. So that's Team Orlando. And then we have this tech bridge, the Central Florida Tech Bridge. What that is that node on that network connected to a worldwide network of tech bridges. And then we have a thing that we call the Tech Grow. That's a physical and virtual location. Because we have those 4 services that are all a part of Team Orlando, and they all wanted to be doing something differently with industry, we knew that we needed to do something collaboratively with them. So when we stood up, we wanted to have this space where we could innovate together. That's ours. Rick, over to you.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So unlike Diana down with Team Orlando, the Southern Maryland Tech Bridge is mainly focused on NOC-AD and the systems that we're doing research, development, test, and evaluation on. Supporting that mission, we've got 2 main partnership intermediaries, one with the Patuxent Partnership that allows us to engage both hyper-locally and within our 3-county region around Southern Maryland, but also extend out to ecosystems down in Orlando, and then with the Tech Bridge Network out to Rhode Island, California, Seattle. Additionally, we have Impacts, which is a partnership intermediary agreement with Georgia Tech Research Institute. And what that partnership intermediary allows is access to subject matter experts back at GTRI, as well as assistance with tech scans, prize challenges, and really trying to create collaborations with non-traditionals in small business and academia. I'll talk more about that a little later in the slide as we look through the innovation pipeline. Next.
Yes. All right, I'm surprised you left this slide in there, Rick. But okay, so the center of the universe is Orlando, just at least from our perspective, right? And as you can see on the map. So this shows the tech bridges around the world, where we're located, where they're located, and how we're all a node on the network. And although we have everything radiates from Orlando, this really, we're interconnected. So thank you for leaving that one on there. Anything?
Sure. And one of the other things we'd like to point out is, we're hitting a lot of the major technology ecosystems on the East Coast. The one up at Newport, Rhode Island is connecting into Boston and Massachusetts. Obviously, Diana in Central Florida with UCF. And then on the West Coast, Seattle, hosted by Keyport. And then as we move down the coast, there's two in the Ventura region, as well as one down in San Diego, Southern California.
Okay, so I have one more thing to add. This is the good benefit of doing it together. We can think while the other one's briefing. So the node on the network, it's a very real thing. And let me give you one example of that. Up in Seattle, what we call which Northwest, the Pacific Northwest Tech Bridge up at Newark. So they have a lot of gaming industry members up in Seattle, and that's in our business space is gaming, doing training, right? So they have been able to connect those small business, those innovators, those startups with us that would never have heard of us if we did not have this tech bridge network. We've done the same for chip manufacturers and different industry members like that are in the Orlando area that's not necessarily in our business space. So just an example of how that node on the network works.
So to kind of double down on that, if you are in a region that's not in the DMV, and you can see several tech bridges here in the DMV. We have Lauren Tink from Carter Rock that headquarters here in the district, and as well at Dahlgren and Indian Head. But you can connect with your local node, and then they'll bring that connection back into the network. So either reach out directly or to the tech bridge that's closest to your ecosystem. And that may be London. So we have two international ones, London and Japan. Japan did make it on. Okay, next slide.
All right, so the Central Florida Tech Grove. So I said at the beginning that we created this thing called the Tech Grove because we have all four services. You can see who's a member of the Tech Grove by the logos there. So University of Central Florida Research Foundation is our PIA partner, and that's Partnership Intermediary Agreement. So as a federal lab, we have some authorities that are granted to us along with all the other tech bridges. And one of those authority allows us to enter into this thing called a PIA. And the PIA allows us to do business a little bit differently, gives us some other abilities. So anyway, we're the only federal lab in Orlando. We have the Army with the PEO, which is Program Executive Office for STRI. Then we have AFMS, which is a policy office for Air Force. We have PM Traces, which is a program office for Ground Marine Corps training. STTC, which is basically an arm of Army Research Lab. And then STCFT, which is part of Army Futures Command. So you can see we've got a lot of different members, and all of those are a part of this tech grove. So they're there to innovate. It's an innovation hub. So we say it's an innovation pop, and it's also innovative way that we went about this because there's no other PIA that we know of in the nation that was designed to be collaborative like this.
I think the other thing that's great in your ecosystem is you're co-located with an incubator associated with the University of Central Florida. So not only do you have the innovation space within the DoD, but also startups and that sort of flavor just next door.
Thank you. Next. All right, so from a Tech Grove perspective, here are the technologies that we're going after. And you can see the pillars. That's what we're looking at sort of quarterly, what that looks like. And then the bottom are the enabling technologies. And why we have that is, although I think when I say what LVC stands for, Live Virtual Constructive, that I'm being very open and communicative. But when I'm talking to startups, they don't understand what that means, and rightfully so, right? I'm still speaking DoD. So the technology is listed at the bottom that helps them to understand where they might fit in an entire DoD world. Human performance and cybersecurity, that's overarching, that reaches everything. And then a lot of these technologies also would be impactful to other tech bridges.
Absolutely. I think we've seen as the Tech Bridge Network has stood up a lot of these enabling technologies like AI, ML, certainly 5G, sensors, quantum are really ubiquitous and building blocks for a lot of the technologies that the Navy is looking at.
Okay, thanks. Next slide.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about the innovation pipeline. So often innovation is undisciplined, and perhaps organizations don't have a repeatable process to go through innovation. So a few years ago, ONR developed this innovation pipeline that we're trying to adopt, not more as a guide than a hard, fast rule or plan. But I'll just walk through it. And why I like this chart is you can see as you walk through each of the phases of the innovation pipeline, the different authorities and programs and funding opportunities that stack onto that section of the pipeline. So starting there with source, really what we're getting at is being able to curate fleet warfighter problems in a way that we can communicate that to industry. Dana mentioned earlier, acronyms, certainly LVC is one of those. But oftentimes we don't allow the problem curation process to allow industry to innovate. We put them in very rigid set of requirements that doesn't allow them to attack the problem in the in technology gap in a creative way. Moving on to curate, really what we're doing here is seeing across the DoD pipeline where are other problems that that may add up or be included in that problem set that we've sourced from the fleet. Moving to scan, this is where we bring in a lot of assistance from our partnership intermediaries, looking at what the state of the art in, if there are commercial technologies that we can spin into DoD quickly and rapidly. Some of the best examples of that are through our Antex events, happen here on the East Coast and on the West Coast, really providing a fleet warfighter representative experimentation for industry to come in and try out their technologies, get feedback from warfighters, and really improve their technologies. Sort of stepping down from the top, prize challenges are something that we've also been taking a lot of advantage of recently. We've had 2 UAV prize challenges within the last 2 years that have yielded great results and really brought technologies and companies to the Navy that we otherwise wouldn't have known about or engaged with. And then SBIRs, and then finally NICE. So NICE is an internal R&D project that allows warfare centers to basically do basic research. It's internal IRAD funds, allow us to do basic research as well as some workforce development. And we're aligning all of these different initiatives to help move technologies through this pipeline. Anything you'd like to?
Thanks. Yep, you covered it.
Cool. So I'm just going to quickly go through an example of how we've used this pipeline in the past. So starting with the left, source and curate, we've worked with a fleet customer. I'm going to make this generic so that my public affairs officer doesn't get mad at me. We've worked with a fleet requirements officer in a program office to determine and help curate the problem set. What's the problem that the fleet has that's bubbled up on a requirement list? We've moved that through the tech scan process. So we've leveraged our partnership intermediary with Georgia Tech Research Institute to kind of do a deep dive of who are the players, whether they're traditional, non-traditional. And then out of that, we designed a prize challenge that met the capabilities that the industry could currently perform at. So I think going in, there was concern of either setting the stakes too high where no one would be able to enter or perform, or setting the stakes too low to say, no, this is well past where industry can perform. So that prize, that tech scan part really helped us frame out the prize challenge. One of the other benefits of using our partnership intermediary, it also allows us to have access to companies that don't normally read, sam.gov. So as they did the scan, they would reach out to companies and say, hey, we looked and saw you didn't apply for this challenge. What were the barriers? Why didn't you apply? Was something not clear? Did we lose something in translation, like Diana mentioned earlier? So that's been very beneficial to seeing new technologies and getting them to those challenges. And then post-challenge, if we select a company that successfully performs and the government evaluates, we can go into an OTA prototype with them. We're using the Naval Air Systems Consortium, one of the several consortiums that the Navy has currently. This one is run by CMG, but it's been a great partnership to quickly get non-traditionals into an OTA contract. Many of them haven't dealt with the government before, don't understand the costing process, and a lot of the documents that our agreements officers require. So the consortium really serves as a bridge and helps, again, in that translation and getting us onto contract sooner. Moving out of the prototype effort, that's when our fleet experimentation, where we're validating the technology that we've prototyped, and then again, moving into sustainment, or rather transition and sustainment, that's when we pass it back to the program office to do those next two steps.
That was a beautiful description. Thank you, Rick. The only thing I want to add is the sam.gov. When Rick said about that, yes, those non-traditionals, those small, those innovators that are not used to doing business with us, they're not looking at sam.gov, and that's where we're going in other ways to reach them. And so for the larges out there, that's a great thing for you too, right? Because we know that y'all are partnering with these littles that we're able to bring in. So that's how we're trying to do that, is to reach them in other ways that is not just sam.gov. All right, so from an Orlando perspective, so one of the things that we've been really busy doing is building that ecosystem of those non-traditionals. Because we are all co-located, because we've got the entertainment, the amusement parks close by, because we've got a lot of gamers downtown, and then we're right there at the research park with UCF. I think it's the 6th largest research park in the nation. So because we've got all of these different kinds of people around, we wanted to bring them in and let them know. A lot of people don't even know that we're there. NSA Orlando is the 2nd smallest base in the country. So people don't even know that any of us are there. So just getting the word out. So this is what we've been doing to part of increasing the DIB, the defense industry base, is one of the PIA requirements, if you will, or not authorities, I guess I should say, not requirements. So we're doing some things to be able to increase the DIB and get a word out. One is Tech Connect. So that's a partnership with NTSA, which is definitely in our ecosystem with training. They put on ITSIC. So we do that. We have a monthly series where we interview one of the ITSIC best papers. Juice bar. So we're in a grove. So there's juice, right? And then a bar, there's always great chat that happens at a bar. So the juice bar, it's a low threat environment. That's where we want industry, those non-traditionals, to talk to us about what are those barriers? What can we do to remove those barriers? We provide information and we take the time to talk to them. So that's a non-leadership kind of meeting with our industry members. SBIR Partnership Showcase, because there's so many SBIR opportunities, small business innovative research opportunities out there, so many phase 2s and phase 3s that we're looking at transitioning. We did that. We opened that up and we had SBIRs from all 4 services, and we had this showcase. We invited hundreds of people from all over the nation, original equipment manufacturers, so the largest, program managers, and then even third-party venture capitalists, because we've got this PIA relationship. So out of 16 SBIRs that we showcased, we had 14 follow-ups. And we've only had one. We've only signed, our PIAs, we just signed it in 2020, so we're relatively new. Game Jam, I'll talk about that in a little bit, I believe. Starbase Central Florida, put that one in there just because we're proud of it. We initiated our first Starbase. It's an OSD funded initiative for 5th graders. So just kind of threw that one in there. Innovation Cells, we've got all of this technology that's listed in great government vernacular over here in the Tech Grove. And it allows industry to come in and play with that technology and look for some gaps and come up with some ideas for opportunities for CRADAs or what they might want to work on with their IRAD. Can explain any of that to anybody that's interested, or I know who can explain it technically. And then hard problems with the problem growth. So we've got a lot of different relationships. INSIN, National Security Innovation Network, UCF, NPS, the Navy Postgraduate School. So, and they all want to solve problems for free for us. So what we're doing now is working with our Team Orlando partners to curate those problems so that we're not repeating them and then putting them in through that pipeline. And then when the problems get mature enough or the solutions get mature enough, they can go into the pipeline that Rick was explaining. So, and then workforce TOPS is basically a design thinking. We gave it an acronym, right? Team Orlando Problem Solvers. And then we do some things with industry to talk to them about acquisition process exchanges and workforce development. We just had where we're teaching our workforce about how they use OTs, because that's something that's relatively new in our environment. And then the talent pipeline, I mentioned the Starbase, and we do a lot of stuff with the STEM. And with Army has GEMS because they're co-located. Next slide.
So I wanted to point out some ways to engage with the Southern Maryland Tech Bridge in our ecosystem. The first, obviously, is a very traditional industry day. We have 2 industry days kind of in the region. The NAVAIR 80 Industry Day will be at Pax River May 9th. So it's a Monday. And then we're also having a Eastern North Carolina Industry Day as part of our FRC. And they're going to be trying to tackle some hard problems around maintenance. Moving down, we have a couple prize challenges that have kicked off. Unfortunately, the period to apply has ended. I did want to point them out. We have a Maritime Search and Rescue UAS challenge currently going on. We're anticipating a helmet-related technology coming this summer. SBIR topics. Tony, I saw earlier. Tony's right back here. We're having a pre-release for SBR Topics April 20th. So if you're not familiar with SBR Topics, go see Tony. It's a great opportunity in that pre-release phase to talk to the TPOC, to really understand the problem set before they go into formal release. Approximately 25 plus topics that are going to be released in April. Some of those, I believe, are from NOC TSD, and then we have 8 STTRs, which are more focused on collaborations with universities. NavySBIR.com is a place where you get more information on that. Additionally, we have an Antex event coming this summer. We've had a Blue Water UAS challenge that has closed, but there are other opportunities to participate in that Antex event this summer if you check out impacts.tech. And then finally, we are a federal lab with scientists and engineers, and we are inventing things. That patent portfolio owned by the Navy is available for licensing. So this is the spin out portion of tech transfer. And you can check out our portfolio at TechLink. It's techlinkcenter.org, or if you just Google TechLink, you can check out not only our patents, but in fact, all of the patent portfolios across the DoD to include the ones down at TSD, Pax River, and other Navy warfare centers.
Only thing I wanted to pile on is that Eastern North Carolina prize challenge that's coming up. It's really cool. If you're in the maintenance space, I would check it out. There's one on tracking bit beast parts. They can track tools, but this is a different one. This is at like the drill bit level. And the other one is they're needing a special tooling, I believe, for something with V-22 maybe. So anyway, it's really cool. My loggy in me is coming out, okay? So check it out.
And also related to that, NavalX is launching a maintenance challenge. If you go to the NavalX website, so if you Google NavalX and ASNRDA, it'll take you right to the website. Or Liz might have that's. Or you can check out the NavalX booth in booth 417. Okay.
So the opportunities to engage in Central Florida, you can see there's a lot. So once again, because there's all four of us co-located, we do things a little bit differently because we try to do that together. So what our goal is, I'm also the outreach director for NOC TSD. My goal is every month to have a non-program specific touch point with industry. So what that means, that touch point is some sort of kind of a, not formal event, but an event of some sort. So we say we start our year in June with TSIS, the Training Systems Industry Symposium. And what that is our long range acquisition forecast, or LRAF. There's a statute that says that we all have to provide our LRAF. What we do, because all four of us are co-located, we make it a 2-day event. We get together and we present this information to industry somewhat formally. There's about 1,000 people that will attend from all over the nation. And we do about, between all of us, about over $6 billion in modeling, simulation, training, and human performance out of the Orlando region. So then PALT, Procurement Administrative Lead Time Meeting, that happens every other month for Navy, for Army and Marine Corps, they do that every month. That's chatting, right? That's just a low threat environment, and that's where we provide an update to industry. What we told you at TSIS is what we thought we knew. Now here's updated information. This is what we know. There's no slides, nothing formal, just an information update. The Team Orlando Small Business Roundtable. So what that is our small business deputies from the different services get together and they provide information to the small businesses that they might be interested in. The last one, that's between the Army and the Navy PALT. So on the months where we both have PALTs together, industry can fly in and make it a day event. They can go to Army PALT, they can go to the Team Orlando Small Business Roundtable, and then they can go to the Navy PALT. And so the last one was on for smalls, we had large businesses there that provided information on what they're looking for in partnering. Acquisition Process Exchange, APX, what that is just sometimes we change our acquisition processes and we might not communicate that great. So this is an opportunity for us to have those kind of discussions. Or we're doing things that we think are really cool and really helpful to industry, and we find out that they might not be as cool and beneficial as we thought. ITSIC, I mentioned that earlier. The Inter-Service Industry Training, Simulation, and Education Conference, that happens every year in Orlando the week after Thanksgiving, and you can see all of the stars. Last year we had both CMC and CNO that were on a fireside chat. So that's there'll be about 15 to 20,000 people that will attend that event from all over the world. That's a great way for us to get our message out and to learn from industry. And then Industry Capability Day is the antithesis, basically, of ITSIC. So it's little itty bitty, it's free event, it's right there in the Tech Grove, and it's an opportunity for all of those industry members that go to PEO Strike, and then they go to NOC TSD, and then they go to PEO, and they're trying to show us their capabilities. Just go to this one place, one time, and we open it up to all of Team Orlando. So that means government and industry, academia, anybody's invited to go. And so I thought it was going to be all about us, right? And we were going to find out some interesting technologies, and we did. But the other thing that happened was we found out that industry partners at those events, and there's also been a time or two where a large business may have bought a small business. Nick, do you have anything? Okay, next slide. All right, so the quarterly, here's our kind of our drumbeat for what we're doing in the Tech Grove. So the juice bar we talked about earlier, you can see when that is. It's second Wednesday. The NTSA Connect, that if you've gone to ITSIC before, you get Friends of ITSIC, and that's on there. And if not, you can ask me, you can connect with the Tech Grove, and I can show you how. Mixology, right? We're in the Grove. We went with the juice. Maybe we went with the bar theme. I don't know. So anyway, so mixology, what that is, we wanted to get different opinions of things. We have this opportunity, right? We're right there with the second largest university in the nation. So with its academics, and then we've got a lot of researchers, and then we also have access to the end users. So these different opinions on a specific topic in our area. So that's what the Tech Grove Mixology event, we have. Our first one will be in April. So we're excited to see how this is going to go. Innovation Showcase is going to be show us your innovation in a technology area. So somewhat different than the capability days in that this is going to be targeted for a certain technology, and we want that innovation. The university DoD IP. So like Rick was talking about tech, the labs, we're a federal lab, but also the university has labs, and they have IP, and they're looking at transferring that. So how can we do that? The Lab Expo is going to be, we have labs and they're creating things. So we're looking at an opportunity to showcase what we're creating in our labs. And then the Cyber STTR Partnership Showcase, I talked about that previously. And then the Armed Forces Jam, I don't know that I do have a slide on that. So just let me tell you real quick that that was an event that happened in the Tech Grove. We did it one time. All 4 services came up with a problem. And then we partnered, or UCF partnered with a nonprofit downtown, so a gaming company, a gaming nonprofit, right? They have access to a lot of different people, nobody that ever even knew that we existed. And so they put the word out to their community that we're going to do a hacking, a 72-hour sprint on these hard problems. And we opened up the Tech Grove, or UCF did, and we had over 100 attendees within 2 weeks. People came in from Georgia. We had the Guardians come over from the Space Force. We had students from all of the universities around that attended, and also high school students. So it was this really unique kind of ecosystem that happened within the Tech Grove. We had 13 projects that were briefed out, 3 winners. We showcased those winners at ITSEC. And then from that, one of those winners was able to have a contract with the Department of Homeland Security. So we're very proud of our little fledgling event called Armed Forces Jam. Next.
Okay, and I think that's the get off the stage slide. Any questions from the audience? I can be Vanna, so just raise your hand if you've got a question.
Come on, y'all. We did not dazzle you that much. Yes, thank you.
I'm based in Tampa, and we don't have a tech bridge, and your boundaries seem very, very localized. So is that an issue?
So thank you. So the question was, he's in Tampa, and it seems like the tech bridge initiatives are very localized. So we're more about what business space you're in. So if you're in any of our business space, modeling, simulation, training, human performance, connect with me. Like I said, there's companies in Seattle that we're connected with. So the region is not an issue. It's more about the business space, right, Rick?
Absolutely. And we're also connecting up with DefenseWorks. So SoftWorks that's down there in the Tampa Ybor district is connected in one of our national partnership intermediaries for NavalX. So there is that connection point as well.
And we're called Central Florida, not Orlando, okay? There's the Team Orlando, but Central Florida Tech Bridge. So we will take Tampa.
Any other questions? Okay.
Oh, yay.
If Impacts does a tech scan, how do you make yourself found by, if you're a company and you're a small business, how do you get found by Impacts?
That's a great question. So on a previous slide, I had a slide that had the website for Impacts. So we have an ecosystem that you can sign up for. It's impacts.tech. Wow. Whoa, too far.
Is that it?
It's like the one more. Right at the bottom there. Impacts.tech. And you can sign up. When you do sign up to our ecosystem, you specify what technology areas you're in, and we regularly pulse the ecosystem. So when we have a new tech scan that goes out, we will pulse the Impacts ecosystem to say, hey, is your company working in this space? What technologies do you have that may be relevant to the problem set? So sign up at impacts.tech is the best way to get included. We also, though, do open source for the unmanned aviation space. We're members of AUVSI, and we have the whole compendium of database from AUVSI for all the technology areas that are available there and the companies that are maturing. So, yes.
Could you elaborate on how you network into the program offices, helping startups navigate to the larger?
So the question was, how do we help startups navigate into program offices and into folks with requirements?
Great question. One of my favorites. Thank you. So it's hard. Okay, I agree with you. So what we do in Central Florida, our small business deputy works one-on-one with the small businesses. If you're in our business space, and I've gone over it like 15 times, I know. So if you're in our business space and you contact me, we actually have a letter that goes out. It started out, I'm looking at Mr. Myers. It started out as a little, few information, and now it's like 2 pages of, if you're interested and you're in our business space, here are some things that we recommend you do. All of those outreach opportunities, attend, go to that, get connected. Look at our thesis slides. That's on our external website. Look at those partnering opportunities. Look and see what we've got going on in the tech grow for those interesting kind of different areas. So there's a lot of different ways. It's none of them I'm going to say are that easy or intuitive. So contact me if you're in our space, and I'll help.
And I'll echo, really, especially for small businesses, our Office of Small Business Programs is the first entry point. They're tracking the database. They're at every command and well-staffed. So that's probably the first entry point. What our role is more making the connection between the requirement or the need and then the company. So it's a lot harder when you're trying to push technologies into a program office where there's not an explicit need or problem statement addressing it.
And going through like our PIA partner, I think is also beneficial, right? Because that's really for that startup community, because especially for us, University of Central Florida Research Foundation, as Rick was saying, they also have the incubator with the startups. So they speak that startup language, and instead of, we're not talking at each other, they're talking with the startups.
Any other questions? And do you want to put in a plug for the next speaker?
It's my boss, isn't it? Yes, I do. My boss. So the commanding officer, he's looking at me too. The commanding officer from the Naval Air Warfare Center Training Systems Division, or NOC TSD, will be speaking next. Captain Dan Stuckey Cavelli. I got his name right too. Maybe.
Great. Thank you.